Yeah.
And for some people, it's just embarrassing, right? Who wants to go to the doctor and say, hey, like, I'm not feeling so much like a man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm feeling, I'm having problems in the bedroom.
Right.
Or whatever it may be. I mean, it's just not a topic that most men will talk about.
So to make it even harder or less harder, to make
Literally, right?
yeah. So
All right. Welcome to a live episode of Do the Work podcast, and I got two very special guests today. On my right, I have Mr. and I can say that, Mr. Craig Morton, top producer here in Phoenix, Arizona. Woo! And of course, Dr. David Boyd.
well done.
MD here in Maricopa County, and glad to have you both here.
Dude, excited to be here.
This is super fun.
So what do you do? So there's a bearded man, two bearded men, and a doctor in a bar.
I've got a beard, dude.
Well, it's kind of a baby beard.
Look, it's not as impressive.
He
as
has
either.
more hair on his beard than he does on his head.
I mean, it's a fact. I can't argue with it.
It's a
It
nice.
looks good. It's just balance.
Yeah,
It's balanced.
It's
well, that's the
balanced.
thing is because otherwise, like if I did, I feel like there's some dudes that can pull off like the shaved head beard thing.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's tough.
It's not me.
It's not you.
It's tough.
No, it's
Yeah.
not.
Huh.
It's not me.
It looks good.
Yeah.
I like
Thanks.
it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All
I
right.
appreciate it.
So I wanted to bring these two together, and I just want to have a conversation of how hand in hand health and business come together, but more as businessmen. I think we tend to lose that drive sometimes. We were just talking about that. We're so caught up in business that sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves or feel that fire that we used to feel as a young man, and there's ways to be able to recapture that, right? One is knowing that you're healthy mentally, right? Knowing that from the inside out, you're very healthy, but also there's technology has evolved.
Big time.
Medicine has evolved.
Yeah.
And now if you're not feeling that fire, that energy, that vitality, there's things you can do about that.
Yeah.
And Dr. Boyd, you have a personal story when it comes to that, right? Of what happened when you didn't feel that. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that.
Sure.
And then we'll bring in Craig just to his experience with this whole process. And we're talking about two different things. We're talking about Alpha 1 protocol, which is a testosterone therapy that you do,
Right.
and also Blind Spot Medical, which is a thorough analysis, the ultimate human analysis of your body, and what that does for small business owners like you and I that went through that process. But tell us a little bit about how Alpha 1 protocol came together, man. I mean, that's a new program that you offered for a small group first,
Right.
and now you are really unveiling it to the general public.
Yeah, exactly. It's a pretty deep story, actually, because it's my own personal story. Is really what come about, and it came from a place of pain, to be frank. So I just turned 43 last week, and I feel like I'm 43 years old. I feel better now than I did when I was 23 years old. I'm certainly more fit. Certainly have more insight and clarity and direction in my life. But just on the physical, like in terms of muscularity and endurance and like all of those things, I'm a better version of myself now than I was then.
Cool.
I love it.
That's
And
cool.
Would you feel do you feel the same way, or do you feel like you're getting to that point?
I have a lot of different feels. I mean, because I've gone through different stages of doing like endurance athlete.
We were just talking about all the Ironmans you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've done one full Ironman and then multiple halves. But I've kind of I've gone from like the football player, baseball player to an endurance athlete where I drop tons of weight. But I feel like right now I'm the most well-rounded.
Well-rounded.
I eat healthy. Like even when I was doing the endurance stuff, I'd eat cake all the time. I ate like shit, but I did so much cardio that it was okay.
Yeah, you ate like that because you could.
But
Yeah.
you
But
also
now
hit a
it's
wall,
like
right?
a-
You also
I
hit a
did.
wall. You hit a wall, and we seem to lose our confidence, right? As men. I mean, I'm a man, like alpha. You talk about Alpha 1 protocol.
Yeah.
We want to feel that power. We want to lead the family. We want to know that we can go out there and hunt
Right.
and be able to protect our families. At least that's the way I feel, right?
Absolutely,
Like
yeah.
if somebody breaks into my house, I better have the endurance to outlast that whoever's in my house, you know? But yeah, there was a time as well where I just kind of felt lethargic.
Yeah.
Slow.
Kind of it just, it kind of started. That's probably one of the reasons why I got out of the endurance sports, is because I kind of was just, I was tired.
Yeah.
I was tired all the time, things like that. But I don't, knowing now what if I could have gone back, I probably could have, maybe not to that extent that I was going at, just because I started a career and like building my home life and marriage and that sort of thing. But yeah, there's things that I didn't necessarily have to be like so tired. Well,
Right.
You want me to just go into it?
Yeah, well, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and talk about a little bit more. So you're feeling, you hit a kind of a wall that we were just talking about, where you just didn't have that energy or vitality anymore.
Dude, it was.
And how did it affect you? And
it was even more than that, man.
Okay, so talk to me about that.
Let me take you back, right?
Okay.
So, at that point, I was 38 years old. So I was 38 years old, and I was at this place where, successful doctor. Was married, has 2 beautiful little girls,
Sure.
Nice house, nice car, like by all accounts, successful. Right? And so it's like, okay, if I'm successful, why am I not happy? Like I wasn't happy.
Right.
I wasn't happy with myself as a person. I wasn't, I felt like I had a hard time managing myself. It was like this mental fog that was there all the time. And then it became kind of like the same thing that I did day in, day out. And the pattern was this. At that time, my kids were younger, right? So I would get them ready for bath time. So I was always like, that would be like my role. It was like I was getting ready for bath time. So after dinner, get them ready, get them into bed, say their prayers before bed, and then I would either like sing them a lullaby, or I would like stroke their back as they fall asleep. And inevitably, every night, I would end up falling asleep on their bedroom floor at about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. Every night. And somewhere along the way, this became okay. Like somewhere along the way, this became just commonplace. It was like, okay, this is just how it is. Like, this is just what I do. And I came up with these stories where I was like, you know what? I'm a hardworking guy. I'm a busy doctor. I've done all this and everything. So this makes it okay.
Sure.
Right? And so that was my life for like years. And then at like about 10 o'clock at night, I would like wake up and bleary-eyed, like make my way to my actual bed and go to bed each night. And so at that point, I was doing, like you mentioned, you did like different activities and everything.
Sure.
I was big into CrossFit at the time. So I was doing CrossFit and everything. And it was like no matter how tight I watched my diet, no matter how much weight I lifted or whatever, there was always like this layer of flab that I had that it wouldn't go away, you know? So here I was. I felt like by all accounts, I was doing all of the right things, right? Like I was like, my sleep was messed up, but I was doing my best to sleep. Like I was exercising, I was practicing what I preached. I was doing all those things, but it's still it wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so that's when it's hard. Like it's hard as a physician to take a step back and put yourself in that patient role.
Yeah.
It's hard to do. It's mentally, it's just hard to do. So I did it, and I was like, okay. So if I was a dude in my late 30s, let's say I had a dude in my late 30s coming to me and said the exact same things, what would I tell them? And it became like blatantly clear. I was like, dude, you got to get your testosterone checked. I mean, like, what are you doing? Right?
I don't think that's the first thing that we think about, right?
No.
We just think that this is part of the aging process.
Yes.
Hey, I'm tired. I don't have as much energy.
I'm pushing 40.
I'm pushing 40. Yeah.
I work hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And for some people, it's just embarrassing, right? Who wants to go to the doctor and say, hey, like, I'm not feeling so much like a man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm feeling, I'm having problems in the bedroom.
Right.
Or whatever it may be. I mean, it's just not a topic that most men will talk about.
So to make it even harder or less harder, to make
literally, right?
Yeah. So what had happened was I was like, okay, I need to get this checked. So I went, I got my blood drawn, and sure enough, my testosterone level was 390.
Now, explain to us that don't know what 390 means, to us common folk here.
Yeah, so here's the deal. First of all, when it comes to like the range on testosterone, it's kind of messed up. And it's messed up because it depends what lab you go to. For some labs, it's like 400 to 1,200. Some labs, it's like 400 to like 1,500. Some it's 400 to 1,000. So it varies. And because of like whether you're going to like, LabCorp or SonoraQuest or whatever, then there's already this variability that's built in, that just kind of throws you off. But I was so far down. It was like inarguable that it's like I had like the testosterone of maybe like a 75-year-old man at age 38.
Wow.
So it was like, okay, well, there's obviously a problem here. So I didn't want to be a bad doctor and treat myself. Okay, I said, okay, I'm going to go to a colleague. I'm going to go to a specialist. So I went to a friend of mine who's an endocrinologist, and she's a brilliant endocrinologist. She's a great colleague. Sat down with her, showed her my numbers and everything. She's like, could have been a fluke. Let's recheck you in 6 weeks. I said, okay, cool. This, made me feel better. So I'm like, it's probably a fluke, right? It'll be
I'm
fine.
a man.
Yeah, I'm still good. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's going to be fine,
I got
right?
this.
So I rechecked it in 6 weeks, and it was the same number.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, shit. All right. So now we knew I had a problem. What she said to me, though, was devastating to me, because she asked about symptoms. She's like, are you having like mental fogginess? Yes. Are you having some trouble sleeping? Yes. She's like, do you have any erectile dysfunction issues? And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes. Which, I mean,
but you're tired and you work a lot and you do all this other stuff.
Right.
So that's why you're not in the mood.
Sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like, that's probably why. It's stress that's
It's
causing
stress.
it.
Stress.
I got a lot on my mind.
Yeah.
I worked long hours.
And so she was like, well, I mean, unless you supplement this, it's like nothing. It's not going to change. It's not going to fix itself on its own,
Yeah.
And she, her advice was like, get more fit and see if it changes, which I respect it. But I think it would have been different advice coming from a male versus a female, because it was like, guys, it was such to the point, man, where I was like, I was so depressed about the whole situation that I didn't know what to do.
Sure.
Like I felt like I was at wit's end.
Because even if you went to the gym, like get fit, right? Even if you went, you won't have the energy.
You were heavily into CrossFit
Dude,
at the time, right?
I was fit, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, but what I did was I took the typical male mentality, right? I'm like, damn it, I'm going to beat this, right? Like, just like that kind of like caveman beat it with a stick.
Yeah.
So what did I do? I went vegan. I'm like, you know what? What's the fittest possible thing I can do? So I went vegan and I became a triathlete. Like I just walked away from the CrossFit gym.
Sure.
I said, okay, I've done that. I've done that for 6 years. I'm going to go over here now. And so I went and I just jumped into being a triathlete, right?
Sure.
And it was a big drastic jump. I was a bulky triathlete to begin with, right?
Yeah.
So fast forward in the story. So I went and I did I did Cactus Man, and I was like, well, I'm just going to jump in and do like a full Olympic, right? Terrible idea. Like by the time I crossed the finish line, they were actually like taking down the banners and everything, and they were like, "Oh, there was somebody else. Oh, okay, you come across. Yeah, I didn't realize you were still here. And then so that kind of set the course for." It's true. It's true story. Yeah, they gave you a cup. They're like, "Here, take 2 cups." They felt bad.
Fill that with water.
Yeah.
You look thirsty.
Yeah, they're like, "Yay, good job. You kind of did it."
You did it.
You finished.
You finished.
Good job.
Good job.
Yeah, we closed 2 hours ago, but that's okay.
That's right.
So that set the course for the half Ironman that I did. It was like, I obviously need to train harder, But I mean, I did a half Ironman. That was 2 years ago now, with a testosterone of 400. And I mean, I felt like the entire time, like I was dragging this lead weight with me as I was doing it. It wasn't pleasurable.
Knowing that you were low on
training and all that.
testosterone, you went ahead and did that without any.
Stupid, right?
Yeah.
Like I did it. I did it anyway. And it occurred to me, like after that was all said and done, that maybe, just maybe, that may have set such a foundation in my life of just accepting where I was instead of doing something about it. And I think that kind of bleeds over to a bunch of things in life, right?
Sure.
Like if you're in a job that you're like, you know what, I'll just go and do the job and like, earn this money, but I don't enjoy it. Or if you're in a relationship where you're like, okay, well, it's like, I have kids with this person. It's not the greatest relationship, but I'm just going to accept it. And that's kind of where I was at with all, like it bled. I realized there was this pattern where it bled over into all these other areas of my life, And the part that when that bulb went off was really in regards to my then marriage. I'm divorced now, and it was a good divorce. Everything is amicable. It's great. She my ex-wife is still like one of my closest best friends because we have kids together.
Sure.
But I look back now, and I did. We joke about it and everything because I think that's what the first thing that guys do is they start kind of joking about it and everything. But I was having erectile issues, and the thing that happens with men and I'm going to speak about it from the male side and to the lady side, because I had some really deep conversations, with my now ex-wife, at the time, was like, what happens with men, when there's erectile issues in the bedroom, so like things are starting to get hot and heavy and everything, and you're like, all right, like it's go time, and then things don't work the way that you want it to, so you don't have the erection that you want, or it don't last as long as you want, or it's off, or you have to start and stop, do the whole start-stop thing, which is like super frustrating. Like for the dude, the first place they go is like, oh my God, like if this is happening, you feel like less of a man, you feel intimidated, you feel like you're failing, like all of those things, right? And then you start thinking, what must she be thinking of me?
Yeah.
But on the female side, it's very similar. It's like, he's not attracted to me.
Yes.
I don't do it for him. Like there's like insecurity then on both sides. And then you get into like this vicious cycle that occurs. And what happens is it deteriorates the relationship. So I'm speaking specifically for like either if you're married or significant other, like a deep relationship. Like what happens is it causes this turmoil in the relationship where there's like this lack of connection that occurs. And for me, and I take responsibility for this, like for me, I let that go on for so long that there's no doubt in my mind, like that's not the only thing that led to the end of my marriage, but that was a major, major thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's an emotional, it's a physical, it's a mental, and there's one aspect of that that's no longer there. It's going to put a strain on a relationship, and it's our jobs. And I think, it happens, and that's just one example, right? It was like, okay, it wasn't happening for you physically, and it wasn't because you didn't want to, it just wasn't happening.
No.
But, that also has to do with, in other aspects is complacency as well. Because when you meet somebody, it is a physical attraction. Sure. It is an emotional attraction. It is a mental attraction, right? And I think, that component you had no control over at the time. Now you know.
Now
right?
I know, right.
But I think, many times in marriages, there's a tendency, and I'm kind of going off the subject here because I think it's important. There's a tendency to also get complacent, right? And then, the physical attraction is just, the other person just doesn't tend to take care of themselves like they used to. And that also plays another component outside of, just what was going on with our own personal bodies. But it's like the attention, knowing, one, am I functioning correctly? And two, am I taking care of myself correctly, right? And I see that a lot. I had a conversation with this kid that I haven't seen in a long time. He was part of my, I would always see him around. He's like a second or third cousin. And he comes out and he shows me his dad, and he says, here's my fat dad. That's exactly what he said. Here's my fat dad. And he used to be fit, but then he got married. You know how that is. And that's the perception that he got.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, when you are married, you kind of, take it easy. You kind of lay back.
Go, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to impress him anymore.
You don't need to impress.
Right.
You can, do and eat whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this dude's only like 13 years old, 13 or 14. And that's his mentality going into a relationship. When you find a relationship, you kind of like don't take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And part of taking care of yourself is understanding what's going on with your body. I think that's what I'm getting.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that you attribute to the marriage not working is you didn't do that due diligence, right?
Right.
Because a lot of times we don't know about that kind of stuff.
Or
that
being embarrassed.
Being embarrassed is a huge one.
Yeah.
And you see all these testosterone shops all over the place. They're like on every corner now.
Yeah.
But what is the first thing that people are apprehensive about? Going in there, signing in, sitting down, and having this the front desk gal, check you in, looking at you like some old man.
God forbid if she's cute.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's not like you're trying to pick up on them, but at the same time, you don't want to feel less of a man.
Right. Yeah.
And so that I think that's what a lot of apprehension out there is like, yes, I may be low in testosterone, but one, I have to go get a blood test, so I have to go and go into a clinic of some sorts, check in with whoever's in the front desk, get asked a bunch of questions, and who knows what they're gossiping back and forth, right?
Right.
Then when you get the lab results back, you've got to go to this, the testosterone clinic, and it's sitting there with other strangers. It's just very
So let me
awkward.
tell you a little bit about that. So that's I'm flashing, giving a couple steps ahead in the story.
Yeah.
But essentially, what happened was, so I came to this realization that it was like, okay, so marriage is going to end, and so got separated and all that, and the balancing of all that. But I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to get myself taken care of. So that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Is
You went to a clinic.
I went to a clinic. So I went to a clinic.
How was that experience? Like walking in?
It was so weird. It's the reason why Alpha 1 protocol exists.
Okay. So I want you men to kind of listen up here, okay?
Yeah. So
I think this is very important for all of you to understand what Alpha 1 protocol is, okay? And also the privacy you get, and also what you don't get. You don't get to go to these random places. So tell me a little bit about your experience so you can kind of explain the polarities between Alpha 1 protocol and these other.
Yes, because it's the exact opposite of what's out there.
Yeah.
And so basically what happened was, I went to one of these clinics, and I go and I sign in, and I'm sitting there in the waiting room, and I was looking around, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, I'm sitting there in the waiting room, there's like these elderly men, like, most of them were overweight. They were like, like 70s. There was one guy, the one that got me, like, I'm looking around the room, I'm like, oh my God. Like,
So everyone's sizing each other up.
Yeah, basically.
These 70-year-olds are like sizing you up. Like,
Yeah,
what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
I know why I'm here, but what are you doing
like
here?
I walk in, like, I'm a pretty fit dude,
Yeah,
right?
no.
I walk in.
I look at you like you're in the same
Yeah.
spot as I am.
Thanks, bro. Well, I'm not quite there, but
No, that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
The 70-year-old man that
sorry.
sees you, they're sizing you up and says, "Hey."
I thought you meant like that I'm not.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Well, that's a given, bro. Come on, brother.
No, I wasn't. I didn't walk in like I wasn't wearing like plaid and elastic pants when I walked in.
So you walk in,
Yeah.
just a strange environment. Then
I
what?
was probably wearing scrubs. It's like
Yeah.
what I wear. And so like I walk in, right, and I'm sitting there, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, wow, I'm the youngest dude here. And then like I pan over, and there's a guy in one of those. It was cool. It was a nice color red, but like one of those hover round scooters.
Yeah. That's gotta kill your confidence, though, man.
He had an oxygen tank. Like, and I'm like, come on, man. Like, I can't believe I'm here in this situation right now, So whatever. So I go back and everything, I had shared, I brought my blood results and all. So, and the doctor was great, and they were super professional and all those things. But then it was a pain in the ass, is what it was.
How often did you have to go?
Like
Once
I had
a
to
week?
go. Yeah, I had I had the first visit, and then you had to come back in like 6 weeks, and then it's like it's like 4 times a year, like quarterly at least, that you have to.
There's some places that you have to go every week.
There's some place that like it depends on what the regimen is. Or some folks, especially if you're sheepish about injecting yourself, where you go and you like have to go make an appointment, take time of your day, go get a shot, and which is absolutely absurd to me. I mean, I'm way too busy for that, So. But it was just like the whole experience was not. It was very cookie cutter. Mm-hmm. I felt like a number. And it was awkward and time consuming. So,
and I think most people feel that way.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess if you take a step back, you look at it, if I put a label on it, it was a deterrent. Mm-hmm. So you think of the number of dudes that are out there suffering in silence, and like there's this step, now there's this thing in their way on top of that. So like, are they going to do something? No, they're just going to continue to suffer in silence because we're men. That's what we do.
Yeah, then they don't want to be in the same situation you were in.
Exactly.
Like, who wants to get sized up by a 70-year-old man?
Yeah,
nobody does.
Yeah, exactly. So, or call and have the the cute receptionist on the phone who's like a 23-year-old says, "So what are you seeing the doctor for today?" Yeah,
I can't get it up.
Yeah, it's like,
it's kind of neat. You went through a transformation process. Like, I can't get it up to. I get you hard.
Yes.
I mean, that's his tagline now. Like, I get you, Dr. Boyd, I get you hard. And it's in all aspects, right? It's about, physically hard. You get the right testosterone, measurements in your body, or I don't know the technical terms, but the right levels in your body. And it goes in other aspects. It goes in other areas. And Dr. Boyd does get you hard, but you have to discover this through your own pains, right? And
it was things happen for a reason.
Yeah,
and so I truly believe, in my heart, like there's men out there that are suffering in silence, much like I was, and that the whole reason why God had me go through that is so that I would learn the lessons that I did, was so that I would end up creating Alpha 1 protocol as I did, and so that this would shift not just the it's not about just the testosterone level. Like it literally, it's been such a game changer for me. It changed almost every aspect of my life. So mental fogginess is gone. Like once I got my testosterone levels where they needed to be, which, you know, I fluctuate usually like around 950 now, you know, I'm comfortable there.
Where should you be? Because you mentioned you were in the 300s.
Yeah.
Now you're in the 900s?
Yeah, right. And now
is it like 21-year-old status or?
No, I think it's 40-year-old status, man.
You think a 40-year-old should run at that
Yeah.
level? Wow.
I mean, it becomes so here.
What age would you run at that like 900 just naturally?
Naturally.
Like you're like me, say everything's great.
Yeah.
Like are you like hitting that 900 in high school? Are you
No,
hitting,
that's
or
the
should
thing.
you just maintain that throughout your entire life?
It's a good question. So like consider it this way,
Yeah,
okay?
good question.
It's not that for number one, it's not so much the number. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So that's number one is like you're not just treating a number. Like does the
Okay.
number matter? Yeah, to some degree.
It's a gauge.
But it's a gauge,
Sure.
and it's like treating somebody until they feel better.
Right.
Right. So that may mean that number may be in the 600s for one dude. It may be in the 1200s for another dude.
Gotcha.
And that's part of the reason why the range is as wide as it is.
So it's not really about hitting a number. It's about
Where do you feel optimal?
listening to your clients or
Yeah.
patients.
Yeah.
To figure out how to make them feel the best to perform their best in all aspects.
In
of
all
their
aspects.
Life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
And so
that's awesome.
And so that's the thing is that it's like, and it's something that I wasn't taught this in medical school, guys. Like this wasn't out
Really?
when I was in medical school.
Yeah.
The connection between low testosterone and erectile dysfunction,
Gotcha.
like that's like a newer thing.
Okay.
That, you know, that this realization.
Yeah.
And it actually, I mean, we could nerd out and really talk about like the actual physics of it, but the nuts and bolts of it, pun intended, is that basically it's like without the appropriate level of testosterone, the natural system that occurs when a guy gets an erection doesn't work right.
Sure.
Because it's like it all comes down to vasodilation of like you
Sure.
know of like dilation of veins in the penis to allow erection to occur.
Right.
And so if that level's not right, you can take atom bomb sizes of Viagra. It's not going to work.
Right.
Or it's not going to work appropriately. Sure. So I kind of laugh a little bit at like, you know, you see all these things, especially
these ads, yeah.
all these ads on like Instagram, this and that, but like get your Viagra online or this or that and everything. It's like, okay,
cool.
I mean that's cool, but if the testosterone is not where it needs to be,
Sure.
it doesn't matter. I mean, you could take as much of this stuff as you possibly could. It's not going to have the.
It's not going to be as
true
powerful.
effect.
Yeah, the true effect of as powerful or whatever it may be.
It won't.
Yeah.
You know. So getting testosterone straight for me,
Yeah.
absolute game changer in pretty much every aspect of my life. Certainly from the sexual aspect,
Sure.
you know, but you know, in terms of like, you know, muscularity, mental clarity, generalized happiness,
Yeah.
and that's really what, you know, you asked like where did Alpha 1 protocol come from? There.
So what are some, like, for those that are listening, right, that will listen or watching us right now, like, what are some of the things they should be looking out for? How, like, if they were to self-diagnose themselves, right, what are some of the things that they should be looking for?
So, first place is, and it's kind of hard to do because again, right? Like everybody gets complacent, dudes especially. It's like, you know, we kind of get in like this automatic mode. So the bigger thing to really look out for is take a step back, you know, and say it's like, okay, well, like the easiest place, like when something's affecting, you know, a guy's erections, they usually figure it out pretty quick.
Sure.
You know, so it's like that's kind of the first clue. So it's like morning wood. If that's not happening,
The morning wood. So the morning wood shouldn't stop in your 20s.
no, man.
It should always be there.
Yeah. Like, and think about it. Like, think about it from like an evolutionary aspect, right? Like men, you know, we're on an evolutionary basis. Like, we're basically supposed to procreate till we die, right? Like sperm function, like
Yeah.
it slowly decreases once we hit like, you know, really, really elderly age. But otherwise, like that's how we're set up. So because of that, like in order for procreation to occur, erections have to occur. Right? So consider, if you will, that there is a silent epidemic that's going on of low testosterone in men. Why? Don't know. Is it years of consuming food out of BPA plastics? Maybe. Is it years of eating meats, that have been, contaminated with like hormones and everything? Maybe. If you're anything like me and grew up in like the 80s and 90s, like we had like canned everything. Like I didn't have like
spam.
Yeah, man. So I was a spam kid for sure. Oh, wow. Like we had spam at least once a week, So, does all that have an effect? Maybe.
But I'm going to go ahead and read off this quiz that you have.
Yeah, please.
And it says, here's some indicators if you may be suffering from low testosterone. Then we'll get into your other program, which is Blind Spot Medical.
Yeah.
I want to kind of talk about both because I think they both align pretty. Because if you're low here, that might be an indication that there's something else that may be wrong that you need to get checked, overall. And we're going to talk about the ultimate human analysis. And both Craig and I went through that ultimate human analysis called Blind Spot Medical. But before we get into that, I want to go ahead and just wrap up this conversation about Alpha-1 protocol, all right, which is the at-home, and I guess we didn't emphasize this.
Yeah.
This is the at-home testosterone therapy, which means the blood test, right? The blood test goes to your house. They draw you at your home. Okay, you don't have to go anywhere. They draw you at your home. And also, it is a drop shipment. If you are low in testosterone, it's a drop shipment where you apply it from the comfort of your home as opposed to going to a clinic, as opposed to going out there to whatever shops are out there. That's the major difference here. And it's a direct conversation with Dr. Boyd.
Right.
You have a direct communication line, which is huge.
It's massive,
right?
yeah.
And coming from a man that's been through it, there's advantages there because he just doesn't want you to get the levels where they need to be. He wants you to make you feel good and optimal. And I think that's the major. He's not just going through charts trying to get to the next patient because he's got another 10 patients waiting out there that are waiting for application. This guy, Dr. Boyd, and I went from Mr. to this guy.
Yeah, this guy.
To now this guy.
Yeah, this guy over
So
here.
Dr. Boyd, he goes through this process where it's not trying to get as many through as possible. It is a very tailored program that you can go through. But here are some indicators. Go ahead.
I'm actually a part of the
Alpha-1
protocol.
So
So I can, if
Yeah,
you
let's-
want, I can give my
I want to get your
outlook
insights on this.
the whole process.
I want to get your
Get
insights
started
on this,
with
but I also want to go with some identifying factors. So for those of you watching right now live, and I got Dr. Boyd here, the founder of Alpha-1 Protocol, and I have one of his patients, and two patients of his programs, Craig Morton, and of course I am AZ Araujo. But how to identify if you are suffering from low testosterone. Do you have a decreased libido, which means sex drive? Can you not get it hard?
Do you not want it?
So, yes.
Do you not want it? Desire.
Yeah, it's desire. And so I'm glad you mentioned that because this is a really, really common thing. So libido, desire for sex, erection or erectile dysfunction, so that the mechanics aren't working. So one is like the desire. One is the action. And they do. Like if testosterone is lower, then you can have issues with both.
With both.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. So desire for it.
Right.
Do you have lack of energy? You may have low testosterone. Do you have a decrease in strength or endurance? You may have low testosterone. Have you lost height?
Yeah.
If you got shorter,
Yeah.
you may have low testosterone.
It affects us big time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does it affect bone density?
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to talk about that.
Yeah, good. Have you noticed decreased of enjoyment of life? Your overall psyche, right? Is that what you're saying? Like depression?
Absolutely.
So if you have depression, you may have low testosterone.
Yeah, and so it's a good point because how many folks are on antidepressants, right? And I'm not saying don't go off. I'm not saying go off your antidepressants.
No.
Let me be clear. But what I am saying is if you do have like anxiety, depression, and you're a dude and you haven't had your testosterone checked, you need to get your testosterone checked.
Yes. Yeah. Are you sad or grumpy? That's the same thing. Kind of along the lines of if you're always, irritated, agitated, sad, unfulfilled.
Yeah.
And like you said, you had everything.
Dude.
And it was the mechanics inside were not where they need to be.
This chronic melancholy that was constantly there.
You may have low testosterone. Now this is where we go there. Are your erections less strong, right? Mm-hmm. And I think we've all been through a situation where they're just not as big as they used to be, right? Or as strong or as hard. And it's like, Yeah, that affects the confidence level for a man, right? The psyche. I mean, that's all confidence. And when you have less confidence in one area of life, it's going to bleed into other aspects.
100%.
Including business. It's like, oh, wait, hey.
Yes, so that's where it's like, having low testosterone can actually cost you money.
Yes, and whoops, I lost it, Dr. Boyd. Hold on.
Did you end up on an iPhone
Alpha
page?
1. Yeah, dude, how did that happen?
Shopping. You're shopping during this?
I cracked my phone. I need to know.
He's like, you guys were talking. I figured
Yeah,
check
it's like,
out the new iPhone.
This new
Okay,
iPhone's
so we
pretty sweet.
covered, are you sad or grumpy? You may have low testosterone. Are your erections less strong or less hard? Yes, and that's why Dr. Boyd makes you hard here.
That's what I do.
Have you noticed a recent deterioration in your ability to play sports? Maybe you were this athletic person and all of a sudden you gain like 30 pounds.
Yeah.
It may have to do with low testosterone.
Yeah.
Are you falling asleep after dinner?
See?
Major one. That's a personal story for you.
Absolutely.
Okay, it's not just because you're tired or mentally fatigued. It could be something else.
Yeah, that's what I chalked it up to.
Has there been a recent deterioration in your work performance? You may have low testosterone. And that was the last question. So I invite you to go to Alpha 1 Protocol and schedule your one-on-one appointment with Dr. Boyd. But I do want to get into the conversation with you, Craig, on what it's done for you and when did you realize that something may be off? Because we work in the same office, and I know that you were sometimes were very energized, and some of the days you were just like kind of like just not yourself, man.
The getting going was hard for me, and that I don't know when it really happened, but
Yeah, I don't think we can.
I was always, I came from the construction industry, so like waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning was not unheard of at all.
Yeah.
So, but somewhere along the line, and I just chalked it up to like, I work a lot, I'm stressed, I'm yada, yada, yada. But somewhere along the line, it got hard for me to wake up in the morning and get going and just have it was like the confidence, like I almost woke up like almost timid or scared.
Not like waking up like,
not
I gotta
like,
go
fuck yeah, I'm gonna own today.
Right.
But
Yeah.
like, shit, what do I have to do?
Like,
Am I gonna be able to get it all? Like you start second guessing.
like
and things
anxiety
like,
almost,
yeah,
right?
Kind of almost
Does anxiety
anxiety
have? Is that something to do with that as well? Or?
Absolutely, because it messes with your psyche, right?
Sure.
Got it.
So you're off.
Sure. Yeah, and I just kind of felt off. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you don't react the same and things like that. And then I met Dr. Boyd because of the blind spot medical.
Yeah.
And did that whole process that we'll talk about later. But it wasn't so much like a sex-based thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like Caitlin and I still had sex, but it wasn't all the time. And that was like a thing where she's like, one time she told me, I feel like we only have sex when you want to.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, you don't want to, but yeah.
if you know what I mean? If I didn't have the libido or, like that desire or something like that because I was working all day and that was taking everything out of me, but that's what I blamed it on.
Yeah.
Was the work or the stress, things like that.
Sure.
Got a lot going on.
Yeah.
Right. Then after the blind spot and then talking with Dr. Boyd about the Alpha 1, then we explored that. I got my testosterone checked. It was lower. And so I started doing the treatment and that sort of thing. And it's weird. It took, I would say probably, because I inject twice a week.
Yeah.
And it probably took a week and a half, I would say. The
Wow,
third
that was
injection to where I started actually feeling like getting up and like feeling better.
Right.
And that's where I noticed it the most. But then now that I've been doing it for a little while, now I'm getting up, getting going. And things like, even when something kicks you off your game, it's kind of like, you take a minute and then you're just back on it again.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do have more want for sex.
Yeah,
That's definitely a thing.
Yeah, because if you're not lethargic or tired all the
But
time,
you
that's the
feel
obvious
better.
effect, of course. Yeah.
It's not, I don't think it's necessarily, your guys, or your comment about like the female, like as men, if something in the bedroom or you're just not feeling it that day or whatever it hurt, like you personally, or I personally felt like, you kind of feel like you're letting her down or whatever it's going on, but then you can make those excuses.
Yeah.
But now I don't have to make the excuses because I just feel better in general. I mean, even getting out of the shower and walking around naked, as silly as it sounds, like you're kind of like, fuck dude, I'm ready.
It's not shrunk no more.
You're just, so it's like, even to not go the sex route, like, you're going to get that benefit.
Right.
But even if you're just feeling it, like, the other things about your life that are just dragging or not, you're just not loving about yourself, you're going to get those too.
Well, that's the distinction in human nature. Testosterone is the distinction between male and female,
exactly right. Yeah.
So if we don't have enough of it, we're not going to feel as powerful.
You're going to act like a girl.
Yeah, you're going to act like a little bitch. You're going to act like a little bitch. You're going to... That's exactly what it comes down to.
Right. Yeah.
And being able to just get your levels to that where they need to be, it does something to your psyche. And that will eventually, that bleeds in to the business aspect of it, knowing that you are a hunter, knowing that you are a protector, right? And also a deliverer of some sorts, And I think that's important because as we age, it's the natural progression of your testosterone. It's going because of the food. It could be of the foods, the environments, what we're doing. It's going to get lowered. And it's our responsibility to make sure that it's at the right levels because it affects so much.
Right.
It affects your mood. It affects your ambitions.
Yeah.
It affects your confidence. And all those things, mood, ambition, and confidence, guess what? That's exactly what you need in business as well.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what you need in your relationships.
You need that as a husband. You need it in your business. You need it as a leader
to feel
for
good.
Kids.
I mean,
all of it.
And I'm on this whole thing like, I've always thought I was healthy, but I think I'm healthier now. Like you say, you're more well-rounded now, right?
I don't think I look as good as I have in the past, but I feel like I'm healthier. Like mentally, physically, like emotionally, I'm healthier.
Yeah, and I would say, I think that's where I'm at too. And before for me it was like about aesthetics.
Sure.
Now really it's about how I feel.
Yeah.
And I want to feel good until like I'm like 90. Like really, I want to be like, have you seen that Dr. Fauci, the guy that's been doing all the reports on COVID-19? That dude is 80 years old.
Hey, it doesn't look it, right?
I'm like looking at him like he's at his top of his game next to the president.
Yeah.
And even President Trump is like up there in age and he's like up there running the country and the world pretty much. Yeah. But what I'm saying, I want to be at that level because I also know 60-year-olds that are decrepit.
Yeah.
Because of the choices they made, because of the lack of education they had, because of the lack of resources and having, conversations like we are now. Right. And having real conversations of what it means to live a long, healthy life. And testosterone's part of our game here, right? Of being a man and being able to be productive. There's production that comes from testosterone.
And so a big part of that is one of the distinctions I want to make here is that just like you said, testosterone is part of being a man. So when you're on testosterone replacement therapy, some folks have like this weird misconception that it's like a steroid, that it's like a drug, that it's something like that.
Please clear that up.
That's not accurate at all. And it's also not accurate that it's like, if you have normal testosterone, we're going to rev you up. No. The whole point is identifying folks that have an actual medical problem, it's deficient, and just getting them to where they're supposed to be.
So you can perform at the top of your game.
Yeah, this isn't like, we're like, engineering superhumans or anything like that. It's just getting you where you were supposed to be anyway.
And some people are thinking, well, the guy at the gym has this testosterone stuff. It's not the same thing.
No,
you don't know where that stuff comes from.
Where you're getting.
So I've run into folks that are like, on the dark web buying like a vial that says testosterone on it. Who knows what in the hell it is?
Who made it?
Yeah. Right. And like randomly injecting it in themselves and then going to like Reddit or a Facebook page to try to figure out the dose. What?
Yeah, that's...
I mean, there's people they pay more attention to what they put in their gas tank compared to what they're injecting there. It makes zero sense.
Yeah.
Like zero. So that's when I made Alpha 1 Protocol, it was literally, I was like, okay, if I could create something that I wish was there for me, that's what I'm going to create. And that's where it came from, was from these pain points. So that's why it's a VIP love. So first of all, it's the consultation's free. So it's already like I'm giving folks my time because I'm really passionate about this.
Yes, you are.
So
I'm telling you should charge for that, but you're just like, you're adamant about
because
making it free.
Even if they don't end up with me, it's like, okay, let's make your life better, you know?
Yeah.
And so number one, consultation's free. Number two, it's like okay, if this looks like this sounds like this may benefit you, so then it's $150 for the lab draw, and I don't make any profit on the labs.
Labs. Yeah.
So it's like folks, it's VIP. They come to your house.
Super awesome.
How was that?
And that I should have talked about the process of that bit more, because I would not have gone into a strip mall shop and been like, I think I might have low testosterone.
Yeah.
There's not a chance in hell I would have done it. Just out of pure I'm a man.
Oh man.
Which is stupid.
But it's how we work.
But it's it's just how my brain works.
Right.
Like, there's no chance I would have done that. But then when I had the opportunity to talk to you about it in private, not in front of anybody else, not having to check in with a receptionist that is asking me what I'm there for. It was literally like a conversation as friends almost, except what's going on.
Right.
Yes.
And then we're able to take that. Then he sends a phlebotomist to your house to take your blood. I was literally sitting on my couch. The only person at this point that even knew I was doing any of this was my wife and Dr. Boyd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then still nothing happens. I don't have to go anywhere. I literally had to wake up in the morning. And then a couple days later,
the beautiful thing is the return on the blood sample. Like, that was quick.
Fast.
It was fast.
Yeah. So
and
we
it's
knew
not
exactly
like,
where
because if you go anywhere else, it's like 2 to 3 weeks.
Right.
Right. I think that's where it is. But with you, how do you get them back? It's usually 48 to 72 hours.
Yeah, usually a couple days. Yeah. What I do is I intentionally, all the blood that I have drawn, actually I send it overnight. I overnight it to a lab on the East Coast. This is one of the largest labs in the country. And it's also one of the most precise labs that there is, because I'm a stickler about these have to be precise, right? And so that's why it gets processed as quick as it does. And then so afterwards, then I just call and we talk about it.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
It was super easy.
Yeah. So it's like, all right, we'll talk about this, and it's like, okay, this is
your
where
results, where you're at.
Yeah, this is where you're at.
This is what we can do, and
this is
what
we
you're
can
gonna feel
do.
like.
If you want to do this, it's $297 a month.
Yeah.
It's on the website as well. And it's going to be like this throughout.
Yeah.
So that it's like, you need something, you call, you text.
Right.
And some people may think, $297, that's expensive. It's very, first of all, this should be like a $500 product, just based on the ease of it, the privacy of it, and the just the time savings of it.
Dude,
right?
it's as VIP as it can be made.
It is VIP.
Yeah.
Now, people are unwilling. I think there's some individuals say, well, that's not within my budget, but I think that there's money left on the table, especially for small business owners, right? Or sole proprietors or individuals that are out there in that realm. You're leaving thousands of dollars on the table because of the lack of production, because of the lack of clarity, right? Because you don't have the vitality or energy that you can easily make that up on getting on a program like this.
Yeah.
And it's done so many things, right, for you, Craig, where it's just like you're more focused. You've applied so many systems and processes just over the last 4 months or so.
Yeah.
It gave you that clarity. It gave you that advantage, right?
Right.
And it also gave you that confidence.
Right.
That along with Blind Spot Medical, right?
Right.
And do we want to get into that conversation? I think we should maybe come back for that conversation about Blind Spot Medical and what it did for both of us.
Yeah.
And Blind Spot Medical is an extension of what you also do. So Alpha 1 Protocol is the testosterone side, the blood work side.
Yeah.
Blind Spot Medical is the ultimate human analysis, where you do a thorough analysis through MRIs and CT scans of the brain, of the heart, of your digestive system, all organs. And really realizing to see if there's anything that you can pinpoint that may cause problems in the future. Cancer, any mass, anything that may cause you not to run at your optimal level, right? And that's one of the things that Craig and I both went through. And I'll tell you what, after I went through that process, Dr. Boyd, my whole perspective changed. I'm doing more now than I've ever done. I feel like I could take on more, knowing that there's nothing wrong with me mentally.
Cool
when I forget,
knowing for a fact that there's nothing medically wrong with me.
Yes.
You don't have to go to 40 different specialists. You don't have to do, all this crap where you're just throwing shit at a wall hoping something sticks.
Yeah, it's all done in one day.
They take this whole scan of your body, or a series of scans, and then chop you up like a loaf of bread, and then these doctors go over with it and tell you exactly what the hell is going on with you.
Yeah. And
now there's no excuses.
I used to be in a place I used to forget things, right? And I was like, I wonder if I have like a
brain tumor.
A brain tumor.
Must be, right? That's where it's the first place you go.
Yeah. I think the worst. I'm healthy, but I did a lot of stupid shit when I was like in my 20s.
Right.
In my early 30s. I was over drinking. I was doing this, that, or the other. Just like, what if that's affecting me now?
Right.
Right?
Your
And I also have...
sore, so you had a heart attack?
Yeah, right.
I've had that one.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, fuck, man. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I have a like little pain or something. Yeah. All of a sudden you're thinking...
Oh, is that heartburn or a heart attack?
Yes. I mean, all
They
these
said
things...
on the commercial if my arm goes down.
I know. So we start self-diagnosing like we have this illness that we're going to die from. And when I found out, and there was a couple things that we needed to change about my diet and about certain things, but to have that behind me, knowing that not only am I externally look healthy, but internally, like it just took me to another level. Like since then, I've taken on that 100-mile challenge and completed that. Now I've just signed up for the Ironman 70.3. And
Awesome.
for my business, I've applied so many systems and processes. We're on this new endeavor with where we're going to go next. And it's just because I have all this confidence now. And again, I think that program right there, I would say, is highly engineered around those that are in positions of small business owners, entrepreneurs, CEOs, people that just want to take their businesses to a whole nother level. Sure. And I've seen that same effect on you, man. You hired more employees, you got a team going, and it's like, I can take this.
Right.
You know, it's not because
you don't get distracted. You don't have that weight on your back dragging you down where you lose a half a day because you get in your own head about, I had a thing where I was feeling nauseous in the morning and I read something that it could be a brain tumor.
Yeah.
Like,
so you're gonna walk in every day, like not only are we suffering from low testosterone, now you have a brain tumor. You know,
realistically, I needed to meditate and take some testosterone.
Yeah, look at that. See, but a lot of people do that. So they'll turn to Dr. Google, right, and they'll look at this and they'll be like,
that's not correct. No,
must be it. You know,
that's what it
is.
Yeah.
But what it does, what Blind Spot Elite does, is it just, like you said, it gives you the facts.
It gives you the facts.
And so from that, you have a solid foundation, and then you can build based on that foundation.
Right. And it's such a, like, now I don't worry now. Like, anytime Carla would talk to me and I would forget, I was like, shit, I wonder if I have, something wrong with me. Maybe there's something internally that I don't know about.
Onset Alzheimer's.
Now if I forget, I'm just like,
all kinds of shit.
Yeah, now if I forget, I was like, I forgot.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, remind me. My bad.
Yeah.
Like now I don't beat myself up thinking that there's something wrong with me. And now with this newfound confidence, I'm like killing it. I'm killing it, and I love it. And it does something to your psyche. It really does. And I knew, I told you about how I felt before you went in. Yeah. And I asked you, after going through the Blind Spot Medical, how'd you feel? He's like, dude, I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
I'm ready for it. And it's like, I know there's nothing wrong. And guess what? If there is something wrong, you can start finding a solution to the problem at this point and not wait 20 years.
It's too late.
It's too late. And that's what a lot of people, when you're symptomatic, right? When you start, something really is wrong with you and you have to go to the hospital. How many times do people do that, right? I was just fine until I started feeling this way, and now it's full-fledged cancer, right? Stage whatever that is, and are dying from it.
Yeah.
And you used to work at a cancer center, so you know exactly how many people just never checked themselves until it was too late.
The ongoing kind of theme, like if you try to find patterns and everything, the ongoing theme that I would see, and it's actually part of the reason why Blind Spot Elite is in existence now, is I would see folks that they would, good hardworking people that like work their whole life, like they put away money for retirement, like thinking like, oh man, one day I'm gonna get to retire, like it's gonna be great, and they do that, and inevitably, I don't know why, but it would be like either right before or like right after the time that they retired, something would happen.
Yeah.
Really?
And it would just, and so it's like, and you see this hundreds and hundreds of times. And as a physician, I'd stop and I'd go, oh shit, like there's something wrong with the way that we're doing things.
Sure.
There's something wrong with the medical system. It's a way bigger conversation.
Yeah.
But there's overall, that's like, we have these patterns that we just accept that this is the way it works. And so, okay, we'll just accept that. And that's what what most people, not you gentlemen, of course, not myself either, that's what most folks will just base their life on because that's what everybody else is doing. And so what this program does, it puts the power in your hand.
Yeah.
Now, it's one of the things I'll mention just very specifically, it's cash pay.
Yeah.
And it's specifically cash pay. And one of the main reasons why, number one, an insurance company would never pay for this.
Of course not.
They would never pay for it.
Preventive medicine? No,
That's
no.
number one. Number two, when it's cash pay, because there's no insurance company involved, your results are between you and me,
Right.
whether they're favorable or not favorable.
Yeah.
That's it.
Which could give you the opportunity to plan ahead in certain situations as well.
Certainly could.
No, and that's I mean, and the reason I bring you on, Dr. Boyd, and people are asking me, why are you doing this? And it's, I understand the devastation that, a death like that could be preventable can have. And so do you, right? Craig, I mean, your dad died pretty young.
Dad found out he had colon cancer when it was stage 4.
Just imagine if you were a program like his.
Late, dude.
Yeah, it's too late.
Yeah.
And the devastation it brought to you growing up and your mom, it's just unfortunate, and it happens so often.
Right.
But just imagine, man,
Well,
going back 20 years and having a Dr. Boyd available to him.
Well, yeah.
I think it's
the big thing with my dad is he was too manly to get a colonoscopy.
Yeah.
Which that's fine, but I didn't have to get one with you.
No, and that's the majority of dudes, by the way.
And
the majority of dudes are saying nothing is going up my butt.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they shut it down immediately.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you can do that, my dad could have, in the reasoning that he didn't want to, nothing's going up my butt, and also he was on blood thinners because he had some heart issues.
Right.
And then the doctor was like, well, you'd have to go off your blood thinners. Well, that was just another excuse that he didn't want to go off his blood thinners, because then you go at risk of another heart attack.
Right.
So, what do? You go to blind spot.
Yeah, you go to blind spot. And
that's
I think that's the major component. I can only imagine what you were going through, knowing that there's a history there, right, in your family from your dad.
I was terrified that morning. That was one of the most emotional mornings of my life, just because it was like, what are we gonna find out?
Yeah, what if I do have that? And that's and a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
If it's there, I'm just going to let God's course come by. And maybe God's course is to have a blind spot medical checkup. You don't know. You just can't leave it up in the air. You got to do your part. Take the actions.
God helps those who help themselves.
Yes.
Well said.
And for me, there's some history of, some illnesses in my family. And so the night before, I was terrified too, man. I was tossing and turning. I only slept like 3 or 4 hours. Once I got the results that day, that's the beauty about this. It's like you don't wait 2 weeks.
Right.
Stressed out of my mind, like, oh shit, like what's going to happen? What are they going to find? Dude, I did that for my MRI. It took forever just to get an MRI after, when I tore my ligaments here. So I didn't want to wait that long.
Right.
So going through this process, it was immediate.
Yeah.
So I got that, I got that fulfillment right away, knowing that I've been doing the right things. And we were sitting there with the 2 doctors for it seemed like forever, which was awesome, right?
Yeah.
And man, I slept like a baby that night. Oh, dude, I slept so well just knowing. Got up the next morning like, I'm going to go kill shit. I'm going to go dominate life. I'm going to show up more powerful because now I know.
Yeah, because you have the facts.
I have the facts. And the facts, just you can use that as leverage. And I've had this fire, and I've had people reach out. It's like, dude, you were moving at a high level, but recently you're like at a old, and it's like
turbocharged.
What it did up here.
Yeah.
What it did up here. And, I pain for what you had to go through, Craig, but, there's so many families out there that are in that same situation. And as a small business owner, we take on a lot of stress and duress. We could, start up these illnesses at any moment, that are that are within our biological makeup. And for us to really, if you say you care about your family, you say you care about your business, you say you care about the people around you, it is almost an obligation to do something like this. So you're there for the long haul. And I have an obligation to my daughters. I have an obligation to Carla, my wife, and everyone here at A's and Associates, and do the work, right? I need to make sure that I'm running at that level. And Blind Spot Medical really helped me just really push my own parameters, man. And I want to thank you for that.
Honored.
Absolutely
honored. Honored to be able to take care of you both.
Yeah, no, this was, and I'm glad you went through it too, man. And
it's cool.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was an amazing, it was amazing experience in general. It was just really cool.
Yeah. And so we're going to go ahead and just wrap up here and talk about the 2 programs again. Dr. Boyd here offers 2 programs, more geared for men, really. And that is Alpha 1 Protocol, which is a testosterone therapy. And you can find out more by going to alpha1protocol.com, alpha1protocol.com. Take his quiz, set up your appointment. You're free of,
free consult.
Free consultation.
What do you have to lose? Yeah.
Yeah, nothing to lose.
Right.
It is a program that costs $297 a month if you are a candidate for it. And again, if you're in the entrepreneur space, small business owner space, I'm telling you, you're leaving thousands on the table right now by not running your business optimally. And if you're off, this is the right thing to do, and it'll more than cover the cost of this. And this is all at the ease and the all from your home, right?
Yeah.
And so you don't have to go into any strip mall
from your personal home, not
not at his home, from your own personal home, from the convenience and privacy of your own home. And and also blindspotmedical.com again, especially for those of you that maybe didn't live the most clean life young, or had a rambunctious.
If college was really fun.
If college was really fun.
Call Dr. Boyd.
If you have a medical history, a family history of diseases or illnesses, call Dr. Boyd. If you're feeling off your game, call Dr. Boyd and do the ultimate human analysis. I love saying that, the ultimate human analysis, blindspotmedical.com. And just knowing from the inside out that you're running optimally, there's nothing like it. The confidence that you get from that, there is nothing like it. Very euphoric almost, I think I just need to take another one so I can get that, that high. It's a high.
In 5 years, yes.
Every 5 years. That is a little bit of an investment, but you can have that discussion there with Blind Spot Medical. I highly recommend you, if you're a realtor, entrepreneur, small business owner, reach out. And I'm doing this because I know the devastation it can bring of you not, living to your full potential. You're going to disappoint a lot of people. So that's why I am doing it here, Dr. Boyd, and that's why I bring you on. And that's why I encourage my friends and also the agents here with A's and Associates to do it, because I want him to show up powerfully for his family, for his business, because there's so much benefit from that, right? And that smile on his face is no accident. This guy's living the good life. And I'm honored to run with you, Craig.
Thanks, brother.
Dr. Boyd, I'm honored that you came on Do the Work podcast.
Thank you.
Any last words that you want to talk about, say, or?
Just the last thing is just kind of echo with what you said.
Sure.
When folks start seeing themselves as an investment, that's when things change. We have a tendency to go buy stuff, right? I want stuff to make me happy.
Like the iPhone that came out on them.
Yeah, exactly. A new iPhone came out. I got to get that, right? So it's we have a tendency to go buy stuff. But the stuff doesn't matter if you're not there.
Right.
Right? So it's when you start to see yourself as an investment, that's where everything changes. That's why your health is always the foundation of everything.
I love it. And we have Jim Stagg that said, great info, Dr. Boyd. Jim
Thank
Stagg,
you, sir.
That dude's an animal beast. He's so
Absolutely.
lean. That
dude, he is
God
cut.
damn it.
Have
I told you how I met Jim Stagg? He used to be my old manager many decades ago. And he invited me to his house along with other supervisors at the time. This dude's riding a bull. He's a bull rider. I'm like, who in the hell is this crazy son of a, It's and he's still living like that. And great guy.
That's awesome.
Jim Stagg, glad to have you in my circle, my brother. Craig, thanks, brother, man. You gave a lot of great info. And
thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here, dude.
And again, reach out to Dr. Boyd either through alpha1protocol.com or blindspotmedical.com. And again, Dr. Boyd, he gets you hard. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon.
Give me a shirt.
I want a shirt.
Deal. I got to make them now, right?
Definitely.
I got to hook up with you, man. All right, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
See you guys.
Bye now.